So the repair that I'll be doing today is an oil leak that I have here. I'm not sure, it's really hard to see in there. Still have the covers on, but in this general area right here, there's an oil leak that's going down. Originally I thought it was a valve cover gasket, but I think it actually might be the VCM O-ring. And what's happening is I'm getting a lot of oil spilling down onto the alternator, and I've already had to replace the alternator once, so I don't want to do that again. It was not a very cheap part to repair, so I'm gonna try to record some of this process and I guess talk through it. So this is gonna be a little bit of a learning curve for myself, and hopefully you guys bear with me on this. So let's see how this goes. Alright, so I jumped ahead a little bit and I took off the cover here and unclipped this little plastic rail, unclipped the coil packs, unclipped the solenoid, and I'm not sure what this connector was for, but I unclipped this too because it's all kind of in the way of this. It looks like it's a fairly simple repair for this oil leak that I have. I'm thinking that it's an oil leak coming from what I believe is a VCM. This is a gasket I got, it's from O'Reilly's, and I'm hoping it's the right one, so we'll see right now. Looks fairly simple, it's just 3 10mm bolts holding it on. So let's jump into it and I guess see what's going on, and hopefully this fixes the leak. Alright, so far I got a couple of things off. I did get the bolts off from the solenoid, obviously the cover's off. Detached the plastic from this, I guess, guide. I'm not really sure what the terminology is for it, but holds the harness for the coil packs in it and goes down over there. Obviously this, well, not necessarily removed, but just kind of detached the coolant reservoir from this mounting bracket here, just so I could have a little bit more space. So this is the part here that I'm going to be removing. There's 4 10mm bolts on it. There was 2 connectors. Like I said, I believe this is called the VCM, so I'm getting a pretty bad oil leak coming from that area right there my finger's pointing at. So I'll try to get like a good comparison of the oil seal that's inside of that assembly compared to the oil seal that's brand new. So I unfortunately don't have a really like cool stand or anything like that where I can put the camera on. And like I mentioned in my other video, I use my iPhone, so hopefully you guys can see this. I was trying to pick it out with my nail, but let me grab something to get this out really quick. So this O-ring, or I'm sorry, this gasket here does look pretty swollen. There was definitely a leak because there's a bunch of, hopefully you guys can see this, bunch of oil saturation all over this solenoid here and this assembly. So there's definitely a leak coming from here. Not to say that I don't have a leak also coming from my valve cover gasket, but I'll replace this first, see how it goes, and then if I still have oil, then I know that it was probably a combination of both, but I am fairly confident that it is going to be this gasket here, because this thing is hard like plastic, and this whole little assembly here is pretty bad as far as oil buildup. There was a lot of oil buildup here on the block, or I'm sorry, the head where it mounts to, and it was all leaking down to the alternator. So let me clean this up really quick. I'm not going to clean this up perfect. It's not, the only people that are going to see this are going to be me. Well, and now I'll, maybe 14 and a half of you that are watching this video. So there's that. Maybe I will clean it up a little bit better. Alright, I got it cleaned up a little bit. It's not the greatest, but clean enough for me, I guess. But just to show you guys the difference between this, I mean, you can see how malleable this new gasket is, and you can maybe hear the difference. I'll do it closer to the mic. So that's the old one, and you can see it's pretty stiff. So this is the new one. And you can even see how malleable it is compared to that old one there. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this bad boy in, and as soon as I figure out the orientation of it, there it is right there. Usually I'll put a little dab of maybe like some grease or something, or oil this up. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea, but I left a little bit of oil inside of there. Just keep this thing going. Alright, so got the new gasket in now. Lubed it up a little bit. Should be ready to go. Cleaned up the solenoid. I guess I can probably put that solenoid back on before I do this. It'll probably be a little bit easier, I guess. Well, this will be the same thing. I'm just gonna go ahead and plop it in there. Anything else that I'm missing? All right. So what's nice about this is that there are some dowel pins. The dowel pin on the top and a dowel pin on the bottom help you slide it in. The gasket was pretty set in place, and there's total of 4 10mm bolts that I took out. One of them did not need to be taken out, and that one actually holds in this solenoid here. Some of you might be like, hey, you should just replace that O-ring on here. O-ring's not leaking. I don't think it is. Maybe it is. You know what? For all 14 and a half of you, I think that this O-ring might be leaking. Yep, definitely needs to be replaced now. I just ripped it. Awesome. All right. So it's a week later, and I've put a little over 500 miles on the car, but it turns out that I didn't press record when I was finishing up putting in that gasket and O-ring on this solenoid and VCM assembly here. But as you can see, it's nice and dry. I don't have any leaks. So what was happening was that I was getting a lot of oil buildup just under the dipstick where that little 10mm bolt is, and it was all dripping it down into the alternator. So I no longer have an active leak. It was indeed that O-ring and gasket for that VCM assembly. So happy to say that it is fixed, but later on I'm still probably going to replace those valve cover gaskets. But yeah, unfortunately I didn't finish recording it, so I do apologize about that, but the leak is fixed, so pretty happy about that. So until the next one, guys, I promise I'll get a little bit better at this. Bear with me. Thanks for tuning in. All right, bye.